We need to explore some depth right now with this virus because we're turning into this duality, us, them, masked people, not masked people, Trump people, not Trump people. And I think the better question is to dig into reality of wearing a mask. I wore one today and I went into the store and it raised my cortisol levels. And I had heard that a couple of days ago. Some experts were saying, you know, we got to start looking at that in terms of that affects our immune system, and we want to keep a strong immune system during any kind of virus, anytime, right? Like that's just smart anytime to try to strengthen and boost and support your immune system. And so when I went in that store today, it was like, I could feel it every time I've been wearing my mask. And I don't wear a mask a lot because I don't go out a lot. But when I do go out, what I try to do is be mindful. What am I feeling when I put this mask on? What am I experiencing? And every single time it's like this, I feel some kind of resistance in my body and I feel restriction in my breath. And anytime you restrict your breath, you guys, that affects we're walking around like that. Think of it, you guys, you're gonna be wearing a mask for a bit, you know? And think of it as an experiment. This is a mindfulness experiment I'm gonna give to you. Every time you have to think about going out to a store to wear a mask, to see about quarantining your shit in the garage and bringing it in on what days, at 24 hours, 2 days. Anytime you start to have any kind of thought about this virus, I want you to just start getting mindful. Just close your eyes and feel what's going on in your body. Or if you're driving and you can't close your eyes, or you're out and moving around and you can't do that, just be mindful. What are the thoughts that are coming up in my head about this? What are the physical restrictions when I put on this mask? How do I feel? What does it feel like? I've really been grappling with this and just kind of wanted to process with you. And I had a vent about this and was going to do a venting video about this. And this is my vent, I guess. I'm gonna ask permission. There's a beautiful process to vent to people, to get shit up and out, because this is what we're doing. We're processing, we're sitting with, we're paying attention, we're not running away, we're not hiding. We're being present with our reality. And so I did a video on ingergasms, and I did a video on like qigong, shaking your shit out. There are many different ways to let go, to de-stress, when you think about cortisol really affects your nervous system, and all of these things I'm giving you, just hit the reset button on, or, you know, work with or massage your nervous system to be like, hey, I'm present, I love you, you know, I'm paying attention. I'm taking care of my own shit, because this is all of the shit I can take care of, ever, anytime, now, later. Just think of yourself as a ballerina. Every time you're like wondering, am I in my business? Well, this is my business. Me. This little being right here is my business. Okay, so in terms of letting shit out and the steam out and inquiry and stuff, you're gonna need a venting mechanism for this inquiry. I found it's very helpful in life in general. And we don't have proper venting mechanisms in our life because we live in the Western world where it's not proper. Although on the flip side, there's massive amounts of domestic violence right now because we have no mechanisms to vent. I went through a coaching program a couple months ago with my partner so that we could learn to just connect and grow our relationship, because we do shit like that. And we learned from this coach. She was beautiful, Kenny K. Stevens. She wrote a book called Up Level, and it's all about venting. So we did this process with her where we had a couple of months of deep coaching sessions, and it was beautiful. And the thing that we really took from that, like our big takeaway chunk from her as a teacher and a guide, is how to vent properly, and that I have an animal and an ego in me, and it needs to come up and it needs to come out and it needs to get released. And you do too. Everybody has one. You guys, we are our animal and ego. Our mind is ego. Me, I, outside. This whole conditioning of society has taught us to let our egos go, whoa! And so we need to see, because it's quite a caricature we're holding in our fucking head, this ego is. And it is like a little child someday stomping his fucking feet on the ground and shaking its head and flipping out. And it holds us in its grip. in its grip, and it creates the script, and it creates the story, and it is like the screenwriter. So you have like two screenwriters I like to think of. You have this ego as a screenwriter that any day will step in and be like, fuck yeah, I'll take the lead, I'm the ego, I'm Anita, I do this, I like to eat that, I want to go there, I want this, I. And sometimes I need that little ego because I do dawdle a bit and I need to get somewhere on time, and my ego goes, hey, you gotta be somewhere on time. So our ego can be helpful sometimes, but our ego needs to work in the service of our higher self. So here's your other director. Which director do you want directing the script? Your other director that you could sink into is your higher self, your authentic self, your present moment self. That's it. It's like present moment or ego. Who's at the helm? Present moment or ego? Yes? Or animal in this venting process. And so I love that she recognizes part of it's animal. See how animated I am right now? Like, we are movers, we are animals. It feels good to animate and get in your body. And I think a big part of the reason we have all this violence right now is we have nothing to do with our bodies but hold tension and cortisol and stress. So every time we put on that mask, or we do that thing that stresses us out, we're fucking with our animal too. And so I love this venting process. Her book is called Up Level, and it recognizes in this moment, I'm animal or ego. And eventually it was weird for me because I never thought of the dichotomy of an animal, but I knew a lot about my ego, but I was like, oh, that it's a whole nother dimension that is added to that. And it's so beautiful. She has a whole process where you ask permission to vent. You hold a space for yourself to vent. You're like, hey, I'm in a shitstorm right now, and it's ego and animal, and I know it's a lie, because it is always a lie, always a lie, always a lie. Every vent is. It's a lie on the top that I can't get past to do my deeper work underneath, so could you hold a space for me? And you ask permission, because we're shitting our vents all over people, you guys. You know that friend, and you're gonna call them up and you know, God, I love them, but I'm gonna call them up and then they're gonna shit vents all over me without permission. We all have one of those people in our life, and as you evolve, you'll get less and less of those people, because you either help build them up and teach them, or you say, I love you, and you move on. Okay, so you ask permission, and then 2, I took ownership. That's her second step. I take ownership of your event. Say, this is my animal, my ego, you did nothing wrong. Please don't, this is nothing to do with you. I'm just flipping out. My ego is like up to here, and my animal is going, Hurr! Yes, and I just need to let that out. And so then they say yes, and you vent. It's beautiful. And this, in your vent could be like, fuck, I was walking out of that goddamn store today and I was already freaked out about going to the store, and I was freaked out about putting on my mask, and then I went in there and nobody else was wearing a mask, and I felt like I was in this world where I'm being told all of these fucking rules, but I don't know if they're even right, because my gut is not telling me that they're very helpful, because there's so much disconnect as to the truth out there right now. I'm fucking frustrated. And I was freaked out, and I couldn't breathe, and I felt suffocated in that mask, and I'm so not used to that. I just and then I just had to keep reminding myself, like, open your mouth, just breathe through your mouth, it's okay, because I was breathing through my nose, but I could feel the cortisol level rising in my body. That was fucked. I walked out of that store, and I felt like, what a lesson on how much these fucking masks are fucking with us and affecting us, and we need to acknowledge it and get mindful about it. Okay, that's not the whole venting process, by the way. You need to go buy our book, Up Level, and do the venting process. It's amazing. The next step is like, you know, they thank you for sharing, and then they ask you what they can do. Because when you vent, this is another key. You really need to try this, because when you vent, you need some soothing. Your animal and ego needs to be soothed. So they ask you, what can I do? And you say, I want some reassurance of this. I know it's a lie. My ego is a lie, but it would feel better. You just stroke it. Or I need physical touch. She has all this list of things that you can ask for. And it's a beautiful, beautiful process. And the venting process was a little bit awkward at first. And it took a couple months to really like, we're still newbies at it. We've only been doing it about 2 or 3 months. And especially if you're doing it with a partner, venting is a two-way street. You gotta have a partner for it. It's a really beautiful emotional intelligence. Oh my God, it's like the best emotional intelligence kind of playground. Like these things you can't talk about, you gotta play in them, you gotta do them. Mindfulness is a practice. And so it was awkward and clunky at first, and you have to be careful not to step on toes, and we did step on toes. I had dark vent. She'll talk to you about dark vents and what happens when you go out of control and your ego takes over, because it will. Anyway, beautiful process. But when you get to the end of that work, like you let the steam come off the top, in that moment, I had moments also when I was in that store where my higher self kicked in. And my higher self went, oh, what's going on? Oh, I can feel your pulse and your blood pressure, and you are feeling like you're suffocating a little bit right now. And then I opened my mouth. It was like the instinct came immediately. Oh, open your mouth and breathe, and just stop for a second, and try to stay calm. So that's the flip side. That's your deeper work. But you can't get to the deeper work unless you have tools to blow the steam off the top, like anger gasms or qigong and shaking your shit out. Things to reset your nervous system, physical, ego work, those types of things. And then you can get down lower to go, oh, okay, can I be present? And this is a habit pattern in my life that I could work on evolving and growing out of. Yes, because habits are never good. Habits are not right or wrong, but they are habitual in nature. So that's it today, you guys. I hope you have a fabulous day. Yeah, next time you put on that mask, just close your eyes and right behind you and just like get fucking mindful. And thanks for joining me. See you later.